Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Kendra. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hopefully, I'm not too crazy bright. Let me just turn
No.
off. All right, so we're going to give people another minute and then we could go ahead and start.
Cool. I was wondering, how does this Instagram video thing work?
Yeah, I don't want to wait too late, and we could put the replay up on my YouTube channel for anyone that joins later.
Hi, Tara. I see her on here.
Hey. I don't have my glasses on, so the print is very, very small.
Oh, my mom is watching.
Hey, Mom. All right. So today we are going to be talking about overcoming the middle season.
She says she can't hear anything.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Tara, can you flip your? I know, Mom.
Wait, Tara, can you hear me now? Okay.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about overcoming the middle season. There's a lot of different things going on in the world, and no matter if we're in a pandemic, life is just crazy at any given point, no matter what time in history you are at. So we wanted to talk to you guys today about different tools to help you in that season that can be very difficult. Sometimes you could feel alone, overwhelmed. We have some scriptures for you guys, some stories from the Bible and personal stories. You're more than welcome to ask questions at any point. And if you have anything that you guys want to share, feel free. I'm going to let Kendra start off with her points just so I could get some water.
Okay. Yeah. So this topic came to us because we were just talking a lot about a lot of our experiences and journeys, especially coming to Los Angeles. And we found ourselves struggling with a lot of similar things, especially while we're in the middle season. So we were just like, why not just talk about it and have a Bible study, social media discussion about it. And so this is where we are now.
Yes. And Kendra and I, we met a year ago. In like 3 weeks or in a month, it'll be a year since we met when I first moved to California in a Bible study group, which it is so important to have community, to have some friends that you can rely on, especially in tough times. Even when you feel like talking much, having someone there that can pray for you. Kendra and Ann and Jessica are two, and Tara, they're all on here. They are women that we talk to during Bible study and on and off throughout our days, just to make sure that we have other people that we can talk to, because we can feel alone, we can feel overwhelmed, and a lot of the times we're going through something that someone else around us has already gone through. We can be so distracted and thinking, I'm alone in this moment and no one cares about me. No one sees me. No one feels what I'm feeling. I don't want to burden somebody telling them about my problems. I don't want to seem like the Debbie Downer friend. Those are things that I thought about many times. Or I didn't have the right people around me before said these things. So I feel like I could rely on other people and saying like, hey, can I talk to you about something that's going on? And being able to filter out the people that aren't benefiting you in your life and creating a new community and healthier friendships, and also minding the boundaries and knowing like what friends you can come to about certain things, and making sure that they have the emotional capacity for something that you're going to bring them to. Just because they're your friend, that doesn't mean that they can handle every situation you bring to them. Sometimes they'll just be there and sit there and cry with you. Sometimes they'll help feed you, or pray for you. But just knowing that you have other people around you that can just help walk you through this journey. It's really easy in the middle season to get so distracted on what can happen or what's next, that we don't give ourselves the opportunity to be content in the moment of where we're at. Sometimes the things that we prayed so hard for, we have them in our lives right now, and we're not even being grateful for that. We're like, okay, we got this. Okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. I got this job. Okay, like, how can I get to the next position? I moved across the country. Okay, God, like, I want my next house. I want the next thing. Some people, I know it's Valentine's Day. For me, that like means nothing, but I know a lot of people, they get like upset about today. They're like, okay, so where's my husband? Where's my wife? Oh, thank you for the compliment, I guess so. We get physical or emotional that, oh, Kendra, you froze a second. We don't give ourselves the opportunity to enjoy what we have now, these current blessings. Remind yourself that we should be content in every season, and it is very difficult to do. I'm not saying, oh yeah, like this is easy. If you guys don't know me, I do not sugarcoat anything. I just tell it like it is, because at the end of the day, you're going to find out one way or another. So I just like to make it easy for people. Yes, Kendra, you could go ahead and interject.
No, I was just piggybacking off what you said too, because one of the things that the Lord showed me, and He's been consistently showing me, is it's very easy to start. Like, we're all gung ho. We're all like, yeah, I'm gonna start. Like, this is, and then you get into a rhythm. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm starting, and then you build that momentum, and then something happens, you come into like a roadblock, or let's say it's like you're getting on the highway and all of a sudden they tell you the exit's closed and now you have to reroute. And so you find yourselves in a place of trying to reroute, but it's causing you a little bit of confusion. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You don't know what's happening. So that's where I find myself like getting stuck at the most. Was I know how to start. I can start strong. I can also finish strong, but then there are moments where you do find yourselves and you can't, like, you're struggling with that middle part. Like, why can't I get through the middle? Why is it that when I'm in the middle of fasting, or why is it when I'm in the middle of something really important and I'm almost done, or why when I'm in the middle of whatever that thing is, or that place or that situation is for you, like, I find myself trying to figure out, like, why am I wavering? Why am I good one day, bad the next? Like, what? So for me, like, I find myself like, okay, how did I start, and what kept me going? And is that something I can incorporate now into that middle area of my life where I'm struggling at the most? And so I know for me, like, I find myself struggling, and I find myself at times like crying out to God, wondering why. But then there are moments where He'll show you while you're in that middle season, like, I can give you peace that surpasses all understanding. I can give you joy. I can give you hope. I can give you all these things, even while you're still going through. But I think for us, it's just like, okay, how can we navigate this middle season that is so critical? Because, like, that's where, like, I always feel like that's the meat of it. It's just like when you're reading a book or watching a movie. You got how it starts, you know how, or may not know how it's going to end, but it's that middle that needs to hold you. It's the middle where everything comes and is like highs, lows, there's all these things happening at once. So yeah, that's really where I found myself going, just trying to navigate that middle season.
Yeah, and in that time when you said, what of the things that you started can you do in the middle? A lot of times, if we're being honest, we start praying, or we start a devotional, or we start going to church consistently, or working out, or whatever our goal may be. And then things get tough, or you hit a plateau and you're not losing the weight, or you've been applying for jobs. I know that was that is one of the things that I've done. It's like, okay, like I've applied to these jobs, like I haven't heard anything. I've only gotten like this gig or this gig. Like, why am I going to continue to do that? And then we just stop. I know I stopped. Like, I'm going to be honest, there's certain times that I'm like, there's no point in doing this. Like, I'm not seeing the return on investment from the actions that I'm putting in. And we have to remember that we have to keep plowing at the dirt, because you're not going to hit the gold unless you keep digging. There's certain tools that it's like, okay, like maybe I went too gung-ho in the beginning of my workout, like the first 4 weeks. It's like I was doing this crazy workout, but it wasn't realistic to maintain. It wasn't real to maintain a certain lifestyle that I switched over. Sometimes people go vegan at the beginning of the year and they didn't transition throughout the previous year. So now they're going through all this withdrawal, and it's crazy the amount of things you go through when you change your diet. And it's like, I can't do this, and you just want to quit. But did you give yourself realistic goals and expectations to get there? Have you taken time to pause and say, okay, maybe I need to slow down, and how can I break this down to make it a lot easier, so that middle season I don't get so overwhelmed and burnt out because I tried to use all my energy in the beginning of this goal. Or when God told me to do something, I was so excited and things seemed to be working out. And then after a couple of months, it's like, okay, like things haven't changed, God. Like, why am I still here? Why am I still in this place? Why haven't things changed? Why is this person still being not pleasant? There are so many different things, but what is your perspective in that time? Have you asked yourself, what is your heart like when you're going through that? How am I going to look at the situation despite what I see or despite what people are telling me? Because your thoughts and others can speak into the fears or the struggles that you're going through. Are you going to give yourself that time that you're going to reevaluate and try to look at the good things, what you're learning from it, what you have gained from it? Because every situation, good or bad, you can gain some knowledge and experience from it, or it can teach you something that you can apply to at a later time. How do you stay planted in that season when you haven't seen the growth? And a lot of times in sermons, people talk about, oh, like when you plant the seed, it's not when you see the growth. And if you guys have ever tried to grow anything, it's forever. It takes a lot of patience. There's a lot of plant moms and plant dads now because of quarantine. It takes diligence. Like, you have to have the right sunlight, you have to have the right nutrition, you have to make sure that you're not overfeeding it, giving it too much water. You have to give it a little TLC. So when I had plants, I would like talk to them and tell them like, you're beautiful, you're gonna grow big. And people think it's crazy, but I had an aloe plant that was very temperamental all the time. If I moved her in a wrong place, she would like wilt and cry herself. And I'm just like, all right, like, why are you doing this to me? But it's the same thing with us. Like, we are such amazing human beings that we need so much love and attention. We need time. We need patience for us to grow mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And unfortunately, a lot of times we want things to change a lot faster than we think that is going to really benefit us. Because sometimes if things move too quickly, we could end up getting hurt in the end. That same blessing can crush us because we're not ready. We don't have the right finances, or our character is not developed enough for that place. You can ask for the promotion, but if you could be very quick tempered or tell people about themselves, that's not going to be beneficial. You're going to be out that door like quicker than it took you to get into that door. So that's something that is very important to think about when you're in those tough times.
And then also too, like you said, like just what for me, what I start to understand is the harvesting period. I mean, the planting period. The planting period is always going to be the most, like, where you have to, like, really take care, like you said, of making sure the plants have water and the right sunlight and that you're feeding it so that it can grow. But just recognizing, too, like, it's gonna grow, and it already is growing. It's just building deep roots. And the problem is like I feel like sometimes we get impatient in that middle season where we're like, well, we're not seeing anything. It's like, well, you're not supposed to see anything right now because you're building roots deep within so that you have that foundation, that strong built foundation, that structure, so that when it does begin to bud and grows tall, you know, then it could stand firm. I remember I was like studying the word one time, and I was like in a weird place, and the Lord showed me like the sequoia trees. And I remember just kind of like studying like about them, and the reason why they're so tall and they last for hundreds of years is because of their roots and how they have such a strong root system deep within the ground. And that when it comes to any storm or anything that comes their way, like they're able to withstand because of that root system and just, you know, like the nourishment that they get and being fed and stuff like that. So for me, like that really was like, okay, it was a moment where I had to just recognize, like, yes, I don't see anything, but would I rather, it's like that iceberg meme that you see around Instagram where it's like, would you rather like the iceberg be like a little pointy thing in the middle of the water and then like you have all this stuff that's seen by the world, or would you rather have a really thick chunk of ice underneath the surface of the water where you really can't see, but that's like holding everything that's maybe small to us, you know, above the surface.
Right.
So.
And that's good about the sequoia trees, because whatever you're rooted in, it could be good or bad, because if it's not in good ground, it could come out of the ground. What, like the wind yesterday in LA was insane. So it could pull it out of the ground, pull the tree out of the ground, or pull your project or whatever place you have been in. If you're not rooted in a good place and you're just relying on substances or other people to hold you down, you could just fall over. The thing can die so quickly. But if you're rooted in God mainly, and then have the sense of community around you, have the accountability partner, spending time with God, doing your devotionals, reading the Bible, all those things, you have a lot more things to be like, no, I'm standing here no matter what storm comes to try and knock me over. Mm-hmm. With that also, there's going to be times that like God makes you wait. So like the growing process, or he tells you, okay, like I need you to wait. So we pulled some stories in the Bible to remind you that not only are you waiting, in the book that we reference to, there are plenty of stories there. So Sarah, we all know she waited and didn't have a child until she was 90 years old. She rushed it because she couldn't wait for God to do it. She's like, I don't see it. I'm getting old. Like, he's taking forever. Like, I'm going to just take things into my own hands. God, I got your back. I'm going to take care of it. Let her husband sleep with her servant Hagar, and it caused so much drama and ruined so many things. And then they threw out the servant and the child, and then they had to go out and live somewhere else. And then she was pregnant with she had her own child with her husband, Abraham. So it caused a lot of drama. So it's like, what are you thinking about rushing that it's going to cause more of a mess than if you would have just waited? And is it going to affect other people? Because Sarah rushed, and then it affected not only Hagar, but her son. And then Abraham was the father of that child. So there was a connection there too. So now he had to let go of that son so he can give his attention to his own son and his own wife. You see, like, things get complicated very quickly when you just want to rush and do things out of God's timing. We have the daughter. So a lot of people refer to her as the woman with the issue of blood, but in the Bible, Jesus does refer to her as my daughter. She waited 12 years for healing. And if you guys don't know, she was in a quarantine because in that time, women were not allowed to touch anything when they were bleeding because it was deemed unclean or impure. So we've been going through quarantine for a year now. And we see that it can be very difficult for some people. Some people are just like, yes, like I could do this for the rest of my life. And others It's like, get me out. I need to escape.
Mhm.
But just think about that. For 12 years, she couldn't even like prepare food for anyone else. Like, we don't know like what her sense of community was. And even if she was married, she couldn't touch the things around the house. If she sat down somewhere, if she had a spouse, like they couldn't sit there because now this is unclean. So not only she's struggling with her health, she's struggling with feeling alone in this time. What was she doing? And she became so desperate that she defied the law, all the laws of the society, and went into the crowd and was like, I'm going to go get my healing from Jesus, despite what anyone else is saying. And what, like, I'm not going to let anyone stop me. So are you going to let someone stop you from getting your healing and your breakthrough? And that's for yourself too. Like, are you going to stop yourself and just quit before you get the breakthrough that God has promised you?
Yeah, because if you also look at the other story of like David and Joseph, both of them were very young when they received, you know, an anointing from the Lord. Like Joseph was giving dreams where he was able to interpret them really well. I mean, over time that built, but like he was able to have these dreams. And of course, like you had other people that were jealous of him. And then you have David who was shepherding in his father's field. And then all of a sudden that like he's anointed to be king, but he didn't step into that until later on. But when you were talking, it made me think about all that, like just the time it took from when Joseph was a young boy to when he was, became king, to when Joseph was received the dream, to when he became, governor or head over, all of the land, because, the famine was coming, and, Pharaoh trusted him and things like that. So you just think about that timeline, like she's dealt with this for 12 years. And one thing that stood out to me the most is like how long it takes for things to come to pass. Like perfect example, Jesus. He's like the prime example. We meet Jesus when he was a baby, then we skip to when he's like what, 9 or 10 or something like that, and then we don't meet him until he's 30. Like that's a whole period of time where we just do not hear anything about the Lord. And but then when he comes onto the scene, he's making an impact. And it's just like the same with Joseph. The good thing about it with Joseph and Dave is like we get to see their whole trajectory. We kind of go with them as they experience different things. But when you just think about like that timeline period, and it's just kind of as a reminder of it is going to be worth the wait. Like I understand the middle doesn't look good right now. It doesn't look pleasant. It's not a place where you want to be, but it's worth that wait, because you see the woman with the issue of blood, she got her healing. Eventually Sarah got her child, and David became king, and then Joseph also became, powerful over all the land. So it just goes to show you, like, clearly, like, we need to just take a step back because God knows what he's doing. Like, we don't know. And it's funny because I think about the story of Job when we talk about that, about how I remember Job was like just letting out all his frustration to the Lord, and the Lord was like, so who do you think you are, where you think you know more than me? And so we just don't know the obstacles and the things that are coming about. And so, like you said, like, why rush into something and then the blessing overpowers you and you're not ready to handle it? Like, why rush it? And just like, it's better if we just wait for when God feels it's time to release it, because he knows the time. Like, he knows there are obstacles ahead that are going to hinder us, that are going to sway us, there's certain obstacles that we have to go through and that we have to face, because it's going to add that extra level of I'm prepared for this now on a bigger level. You know what I mean? So it's like trying to rush ahead of it, and it's like no, just trust the process. And that's one of the things that I find myself always doing, is just like reminding myself, like, you just have to trust the process and just like be carefree in the care of God and let God take control, like, because he knows what he's doing better than you do.
Right. And the story of Job is the one I relate to the most out of all the stories in the Bible, and the woman with the issue of blood. Um, because there's a lot of people that want to sugarcoat or be like, oh no, like, yes, like, you want to respect God, but also God can handle the feelings you have in your heart. A lot of times we want to just like keep them to ourselves and not even hand it over to the Father that can be able to change our situation or illuminate the situation so there's no more darkness, or you're able to walk through these things. Being able to have that honest conversation. Job was demanding certain things, and then he started getting angry at God and saying like you need to do this, you need to do that. And then he's like, well, were you there when I did this? Were you there when I did that? Which I thought it was funny, because I know sometimes I can be a little bit more stern, but
Right.
it showed that even then Job then humbled himself, and then God turned everything around for him. He lost everything that he had, and God restored it and gave him more than what he had before. And sometimes we get so distracted that it's like, oh no, like I have to have this or I have to have that. Pastor Stephanie Ike from One Church LA, she was doing a sermon, and right before she was doing her sermon, there was smoke and there was a fire in her apartment complex, and it was her neighbor, but she didn't know. And she's like, you know what, even if I lose everything, like you can bring it back, but like my life and what you're telling me to do is more important. And sometimes we don't see it that way. We're like, no, but this item or this item. And she did go back to get her laptop. I'm not gonna like take that away. She did get to her a laptop because she wanted to do the sermon and it was on there. But we get so distracted on certain things that we want, and it's just like, what are you learning in this moment? Who do you need to talk to that's around you that has the tools to help you move through this dark time? Who are you supposed to be pouring into this time? Because I know there's times that it's like, I don't even want to pray for myself, and then God will send me someone to say, hey Steph, can you pray for me? And I'm like, all right, let's do this, you know. Just like getting out of your feelings. When you're in the middle season, it's so easy to feel like you're drowning in your thoughts and your emotions and the frustration and the anger into yourself, to the world and God. And there will be other people that will force you to get out of it because they need a prayer, or your accountability partners in your community will cover you and say like, I'm going to pray for you because you don't have the strength to pray for you.
Right.
For yourself.
Oh yeah, I remember going through that too. Like you were saying, like just being in that position where you're in an uncomfortable place where you're asking and believing for things and it's not happening, or you're just not seeing it right at that moment. And then God is like, well, he'll send you somebody, like you said, and be like, oh, can you pray for me? Like, oh, I need prayer, or I need this, or they have, like, now you have to encourage them. You're like, I need encouragement. Like, I
Right.
can only encourage myself, and now you want me to encourage you, but it just goes to show you, like, he doesn't care about your feelings. Like, he doesn't care what you feel or what you're going through. He's like, okay, well, you still need to go encourage this person because they're asking and I sent them to you, so go do it. And it's just, but it just shows you, like, again, we're becoming more like him each and every day, because he was always tired. And I'm sure he was like tired and worn out sometimes, but he still pushed through and there was work to be done and he couldn't stop. And that's what he wants us to do.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like at times he does care and doesn't care about our feelings, because he will send people our way too. But I don't know who needs to hear this, but being vulnerable with people, because it's like you will get the help sent to you in these dark times, and then it's like, well, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, but you were just praying that like you need help, that you don't know how to get through this, that no one cares. And then God shows you people, whether it's family or friends, and then it's like, well, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to tell you. I know me, I struggle sometimes with showing some emotion to some people, or I don't want to cry in front of them, or I'm like, no, like I'm good, because I'm used to being the helper. I'm used to
Right.
people to me, and then I have to be like, I can't help you because I need help. And learning where your boundary is and saying like, hey, like I totally understand your situation. This is how I can like be of service to you. Let me direct you to another person that can be more beneficial. Because a lot of times we stay stuck in a certain season because we're so busy helping other people and we don't give the time to help ourselves. It's like, okay, you need time to get out of the hole. I'm not saying be selfish, but know how to balance the two, because it can be very toxic being on one end or another end if you're not careful. I know that's something that I've had to learn to work towards. And it's not being like, ew, like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, figure it out yourself. It's not being rude like that. It's just saying, like, hey, I understand. Maybe you should talk to a therapist about this, or maybe you should talk to another person, or maybe today's not the best day, but can we reschedule this for another time that I could be in a better headspace and prepare myself for this, because I won't be able to give you the best advice possible because of where I'm at. It's all about like your tone and what you say. And even God had times that he separated people, and Jesus went and he prayed and he had time by himself, and then he would go back to the people and help them. So you can do the same thing.
Exactly.
So Kendra, have you felt that you've been in a situation you felt upset, but you felt the opposite emotion in
Oh,
this?
yeah. I would say just recently. As you already know, like just this past week, I was in a situation where I think I would freak out immediately the moment it came, but every ounce of me had peace. And I kind of almost laughed, to be honest, at the whole situation. I was just kind of like, okay. But I found myself like laughing and smiling, even though it wasn't like a good situation. It was just, but I just had peace.
It
And it
was
was
not a good situation. We were
right.
gonna be
Exactly. Exactly. And so being in this, and now that it's ended, it kind of gave me the revelation of just paying attention even more so to those feelings, like paying attention to, you know, that feeling of peace and contentment or joy and happiness, even when everything around you is chaotic, because God is obviously speaking to you and he's like, well, I got you. So that's what, for me, that's what it was. Knowing that he has me. And even though my mind tried to like take me off into the depths of the sea, God was like, no, no, no. Like he still was pulling me back, and I was like, I'm still going to give you peace. I'm still going to like rein you in a little bit. So for me, like that, yeah. What
yeah.
about yourself?
Yeah, I think that's super important. And it's good that you were able to have that peace in that time. And if you guys don't feel the peace in that time, like what are you doing to try and create that? Sometimes you have to take your hands off of it. I know that's something I struggle with. I'm just like, I'm gonna work on this until it works out. And it's just like, no, like you need to take a break. You need to take your hand off of it. You need to go get some fresh air. I know that's what helps me. It gives you a different perspective. Physically, like you're experiencing all these different colors, like the wind, like you're hearing different things instead of being locked up in the same place. If you do an activity, so if you're a person that you work like as an accountant, right, you should probably do something creative so you're using the different side of your brain. So I'm not going to go into all the scientific parts of it, but you want to flip flop certain things or do things that it's just like, okay, I'm not going to work in the same way so I don't get so burnt out. If you're constantly doing the same thing and you don't give yourself an opportunity to look at your life differently or do stuff for fun, because a lot of times we can be go-getters and it's just like, there's no time for a break. Until I achieve this, there's no time for a break. And it's just like, girl, you gonna die before you get to that thing that you want, because you're gonna burnt out, you're gonna get yourself sick. I know I was hospitalized a year and a half ago because I was so stressed out that half of my body like went numb. They thought I was having a stroke and all these different things because of the stress. And you have to take the opportunity to say, I'm going to have fun because I deserve to have fun, because God didn't give me this life to just suffer or to overthink things all of the time.
Right. Yeah,
So
definitely that time of rest is important.
it's so important. And we do have some scriptures for you guys to refer to when you are in these moments, and I will put them on the caption on the post, or if you watch this on YouTube, I'll put it on the bottom of the video just so you guys have it. So Kendra, you could go ahead and share them.
Yeah, so I'll just share one of them for now because I know you're going to put it in after. One of them is found in Isaiah 43:2 that says, when you go through deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up. The flames will not consume you. And so for me, that I would always go to a lot for any type of like encouragement that I needed, because for me, it's just like knowing that you're literally walking with me. It's like the 3 Hebrew boys in the Bible where God literally got in the fire with them and protected them. So for me, like, scripture really speaks a lot to me, just knowing that I'm not alone. But then also too, one of the other scriptures that I love is found in the book of Psalms, and something that I meditate on now in the Message version, which basically talks about, I've picked you, I haven't dropped you. I will keep you steady and keep a firm grip on you. For, I'm the Lord, don't lose your hope. Be encouraged, be brave, continue to keep trusting and being entwined with me. So just knowing that it's like, okay, the Lord has me. Like he definitely, and his word does not return to him void. We know that. So we can trust that. And it doesn't make it easier when you're going through the middle, because there are times where you're just like, that's all nice and everything, but like still I don't feel it. And it's just like, and I remember one of our friends always say, like, what are feelings? Like, just because you feel me doesn't mean I'm not there. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I think that is really good. And it's like, yes, your feelings are valid, but you can't. So what I like to say is, like, you can feel your emotions, but don't stay parked there. Just keep going. My therapist said earlier today, it's like, you can look at the obstacle, but I'm gonna need you to keep driving. Like, stay focused on the road. Like, if you're driving and there's something on the road, you're gonna have to learn how to maneuver around it or pull over, whatever needs to happen. And then it's like, okay, now you got to keep going because you have a destination to go to. If you stay, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
If you stay stuck looking at the accident or whatever is on the road, you're gonna arrive there late. You're not gonna hit the lights that you need to. It's all these different things get affected from it because you get into this mental fog.
Exactly. Like when you were talking, what came up was driving up with the GPS. Sometimes you're rerouting and we're like, oh my God, this is going to take longer. But sometimes your rerouting could get you there a lot faster than the original intended, like the guidance that they were already originally sending you on. So it's just like, be okay with being rerouted, because sometimes you're going into, God takes you into new areas and into new territories because he wants you to see something. And you're always going to, at the end of the day, get to your destination. It's just determined on if you want to get there on time or if you want to get there late or not at all, because you decided either I'm going to just turn the car around and go back home, or I'm just going to trust the guidance of God and let him reroute me however he sees fit. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And throughout the middle season, we're gonna have a lot of questions that aren't so pretty all the time. So, have you forgotten me, God? Like, do you not like me? Why is she so favored, or why is he so favored? And do not look at somebody else's lane. Back to the driving. If you're gonna swerve off the road, like, there's something for you. You got to get to the destination. If you get on a comparison frenzy, it's going to leave you more stuck in your emotions, and then you're not going to be able to complete your task of the day, because it's like, oh, I saw that she got engaged, or I saw that he got a new house, or they got a new car. It's like, why haven't I gotten mine yet? So don't compare yourself, because you don't know what has happened in their life for them to get that, or what they have said no to get that. Or if they said no to the Lord and then just went and did it themselves and got themselves into a whole bunch of debt or into a toxic situation, and you're just looking at the highlight reel of their life.
Right. I know for me, one thing the Lord did show me was I was playing that game of comparison about like a couple years ago. Like I was playing it, and sometimes it came up like here and there last year and things like that. But one thing he did show me and did tell me was like, you're focused on what you think I'm giving them, or if they even know me, that you are missing the fact that I'm trying to do bigger and better for you than I am for them.
Right.
So while you're too busy focused on, oh, well, they got the house, or well, they got this new car, they got this family, or they got married, or whatever that thing is. He's like, well, I'm trying to do better, like do bigger for you. So why are you focused on what they got? And so then it's like we find ourselves, what we can't do is we can't allow us comparing ourselves to anybody else make us want what they have, because God could be trying to do more in you than he is in that person. And it's not to say that he thinks that you're more favored than that person. It's just where the journey and where he has you in life and where you're going, it might require you to have something bigger, because you never know what that may mean. Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's not always about us. It's about the other people that God is trying to bless through us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And just because someone has obtained something else, that doesn't mean that they're always living better. What I've seen a lot is that there will be married couples or parents, like some people rush or want this and then they get it, and then they're telling single people, you better wait to have kids, you better wait to get married, you're not going to be able to do this, or I wish I was single again, I love my partner but I wish I was single again. And then it's like this teeter-tottering of what the situation may be, what's better. And no matter what situation you are in, there's going to be pros and there's going to be cons. But can you live in the moment and be like, okay, like this part of the situation may not be favorable, but how can I be grateful that I do have a family and this is something I prayed for? How can I be grateful even though my kids drive me up the wall and I have to clean the house 47 times after I already cleaned the house? How can I be grateful for this blessing? How can I show my children, how can I show my spouse that I love them and I care about them despite the obstacles? In your single life, how can I be content in this time? How can I build love within myself, love towards God and the people around me, and be able to balance that when I do find that spouse, if that's the life God is calling you for, that it'll be from an overflow and not because you need this place in your heart filled, and you're just depending on another human being to fill that point in your life. Those are things that are super important, because there's going to be a dark side to certain things, but it's like we got to learn how to put that lamp on and be like, all right, like I need to keep walking through this.
Exactly. And then also, like you said one time to me, was just remember, like, your faith can move mountains, but don't let doubt build them. Right. And that, like, that still sticks with me, like, every single day. It's like, okay, like, it's that reminder that kind of creeps in, like, you can, your faith can build and move mountains, but if you're gonna let doubt build them, then it's like, of course it's gonna crumble, because you're building it with the wrong foundation.
Right. It's so easy to let that. I know for me, at night my thoughts just go wild. It's like, okay, well now I have to do this, and if this situation doesn't work out, then this is what's gonna happen. If that doesn't work out, this is what's gonna happen. Oh, I need to do this to make sure. And it's just like, yeah, it's like we need to learn how to turn that off. Like, I'm not coming at you guys only. Like, I tell myself that. It's like, all right, Stephanie, shut up. Like, I need you to go to sleep. Like, put on some good music that calms you, whether that's classical music, whether that's worship music. There's some Christian meditation apps. I will post that on my blog and my blog page. It's the Inner Glow Up for those of you that don't follow me. For you guys to follow that. So it's like, okay, I need to center myself and calm down so those doubts and the negative things don't overtake me and drown me. Write the things out. If you're feeling overwhelmed, write it out. Do a brain dump before you go to bed. And it's like, all right, like I'm leaving this in the journal or in the email that I sent to myself, and I'm going to bed. I'm not going to revisit this. One of my friends the other day, she said that there's this jar that you could write down your worries and you roll it up and you put it in the jar. And that means that you're giving it to God. If you want to pick it up again and you're thinking about it, you have to take it out of the jar and like hold it and say, I trust God. I trust myself more than I trust you, God. And that's really giving you a perspective. It's like, okay, like who is your trust in? Is your trust in more in you or is it more in God? And you have to be honest about it. Don't say, oh yeah, like it's in God, but then in everything that you're doing, it shows otherwise. If you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to be able to really transform your life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to give you guys 8 points on how to remain strong and also a song for you guys to listen to later that really helped me this week. So Kendra, if you want to go ahead and read them.
Yes. So the first one is community. Definitely having that strong foundation, a good group of people that you can, go to in the midnight hour if you're feeling like you're stuck or you can't go on or you just are done with life. Having a strong foundation, having that community is what's going to help you because they will keep you accountable. But you want to make sure like it's the kind of community that's going to encourage you to do the right things and not just let you talk about all the negatives and then say, yeah, let's act on a negative. Like, no, you want good community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first and foremost. The second is worship. It doesn't have to be, I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, I have to worship, mean I have to like sing, I have to dance, I have to do all these things. And while that's fine, if you want to do that, do that. But worship can simply just mean exactly what you said. God, I'm putting this in the jar. I'm taking it off, I'm taking it out of my hands and putting it into your hands. And I'm just going to leave it there and just worshiping. The other is praying. There are times where I found myself praying and I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know how to feel, but when you just pray, the words will come to you. Like it says in the Bible that the Holy Spirit hears and he'll intervene on our behalf and pray the prayers that we can't even pray. So just beginning somewhere, even if it's just saying the simple, our Father, hallowed be thy name, just saying those, like that's still something.
Right.
The fourth one is definitely, I would say, walking and paying attention to those feelings of joy and happiness that you're feeling, because those are little things that I like to always say, like the little nuggets that the Lord gives us. But then it also goes into the next thing, which is paying attention to that peace that He gives, because He says in His Word, that He'll give us peace beyond our understanding. So while you may be facing a battle or a difficult situation, you may not know why all of a sudden you're feeling content or you're feeling happy or you're at peace. It's not because you're crazy. It's just because he's giving you peace, letting you know that I'm taking care of you and I'm taking care of it. And the next thing you want to do is make sure you stay in your word. That's going to be the really most important. It's just staying in the word, even if you don't know what to read, just go to the Father and say, hey, like, I don't know what to read, lead me wherever. And most of the time, like, he'll lead you to a scripture or something, and then you'll start there, and then you can cross-reference it, or you can start reading that story or whatever it is. But just definitely stay in the word, whether that's through your Bible app or an actual physical Bible. Like, just try to stay in your word. The seventh one is staying faithful. There's really nothing more to that, just beyond just staying faithful. It's hard, but it's either you stay faithful, or you stay mad and angry, and you let those things. It's like, what do you want? What kind of fruit do you want to bear, or do you want to bud from the ground? Like, would you want it to be good fruit or bad fruit? And that's how I look at it. Like, you're either gonna let faith grow and stay faithful, or you're gonna release negativity and that envy and anger and let that take root and let that grow, and then it'll sour. So just remember to stay faithful. And then the last point is just letting yourself go through. Like, yes, we're giving you scripture, yes, we're telling, going through it ourselves, but let yourself go through and feel those emotions. If you're angry, feel angry, be angry, but don't let yourself live in that anger. Don't let yourself stay there for months at a time. Like, it's not easy. I know I've dealt with depression for so long. So for me, it was like I had to get to a point where I was like, I cannot keep letting another year go on where I'm living in depression. even though other people think I'm happy on the outside, I was really not. So it's just like you got to let yourself go through it, let yourself feel it, but then also don't let yourself stay there. Because once it takes root and takes a hold on you, your life is going to be miserable.
Right, right. And finding the resources to help you. So if you can't do it by yourself, or if you feel like the community around you can't be as supportive, go to a counselor, a therapist. It's okay that you need to take the medication to help you through boost for a season and then like keep moving. I know something that helped me a lot was changing my diet and making sure that I was taking the right vitamins, because my body doesn't produce all the right vitamins to be happy-go-lucky all the time. So it's like really getting to know your body and know, like, I have this extra obstacle that I need to overcome to help me get through the other middle season. Be honest and say, okay, this is how I'm gonna find the resources, and it's okay to need the help. We are humans. We are imperfect beings. We are not robots, and even robots have defects on them. How many times do our phones act crazy? So stop trying to be this crazy level of perfection and get the help you need so you can start feeling free and letting some of these things go off of your back. The song that I heard this week, and it debuted, I think, on the 2nd or the 3rd of February. It's called Isaiah Song by Maverick City. They are my favorite, so I might be biased. But they were one of the phrases, lines, I don't know what it's called right now. Sing, sing, O barren land. Water is coming to those who are thirsty. Although you are empty, I am the well. Draw from me and I will provide. And I know that sometimes in the middle season, we could feel empty. We could feel like we don't have the resources. We don't have the love, the faith to go on. And this song just made me so emotional to realize, like, God is still there with you despite you feeling that he's not. So I hope you guys have learned from this. I have other resources on my website, theinnerglowup.org. The link is in my bio, or you could go to my page. And then I also have other videos on the YouTube channel, which we will be reposting this. You can go to any of our pages if you need inspiration. And we really appreciate you guys joining us today.
Yes, thank you all.
We hope you have a blessed day and a blessed week. If you guys have any questions, feel free to DM us, or you could send or just post it in the comment when we repost this video. So much love to you all. Bye, guys.